I don't really know what's going on over there other than everybody's dumb.
The instant you step out of line, you say something that they don't like and they don't like you personally, they're going to use all those pre-existing laws and they're going to use it on you.
A woman exposed her male genitalia to women and underage girls. That's what happened.
It's pure propaganda and it's super cringe, by the way. It's super cringe.
Eric. Hello, Eric. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. It sounds like you're in a food court, however.
That's because I internet me. So I guess the system works. I don't know how to better reverb, or I don't know what you're hearing. But I am, in fact, in a food court. So.
Oh, so I was right, I guess. I'm going to see if I can turn off noise cancellation, if that's even on. Cutting it. Take that off, and hopefully that works a little bit better. So, AM Fest, and where in Arizona, Eric?
I'm Phoenix, at the Phoenix Convention Center. Probably
okay.
5,000 people, maybe? I don't know. Tough to say.
What has been the vibe been like? Have you talked to anybody yet? What are you there to do? Thank you for being there, of course.
We talked to a handful of people. Talked to your good buddy John Doyle, Bryson. Talked to a lot of people. We've been packing them in. So I'd say we probably talked to a good 5 or 6 handful of just regular Americans who came to check out the scene, but I was actually very interested to see where people are going to get somebody they trust. I think that the news media, for better or for worse, is the biggest problem we actually face, right? There's a bunch of people who are just being lied to and they don't know what's happening. And no, I think it's a big problem, so I was trying to figure out where people go to get their news. Who do they trust? So that was a big. I also was doing a follow-up from last year's AmFest to see if people could say something nice about Joe Biden, if he's done anything good. And of course, what you might expect, who will be president in 2024. So that's kind of been the agenda, I guess.
If I'm not mistaken, Eric, that is the exact same food court that you reported live from last year. Possibly the exact same spot. Maybe we can keep this going for, I don't know, a decade to come. So asking people if they can say anything nice about Biden. What can you say nice about Biden? I don't know. You can't say he's not too mean. Sometimes he freaks out on people. I don't know. And I know that might sound hypocritical to some people, but, what can you actually say? He finally became president. That's the same thing people used to say about what has Hillary Clinton accomplished, basically, I feel like.
Yeah. And look, and I am a highly conservative event. So, but that's why I think maybe I don't know. I don't have it in the bag. That's why I was asking other people. I can't stand it. They're complete fraud, scam artists, hacks, right? So I don't have anything. Maybe get some positive vibes from somebody else. As you'd probably imagine, the standard answer is, "Oh well, he's helped Republicans." So it's always like a backhanded compliment. He's like, "Oh, they've certain people." So it's never like there was one policy that he put forth and it's like this weird backhanded thing that they're saying, which It's better than nothing, I guess. Oh, also, fun fact, and the woman from Gays Against Rape, Gays Against Groomers, apparently John Doyle had some not so nice words about her, so she pulled on the whatever, the floor, the conference room floor. It's just funny to see like this weird sort of conservative beef come to fruition. But other than that, pretty fun day, I guess.
Well, I hope you get a lot of good footage from a lot of these people. I consider this, when I describe this to somebody, as a less like stuffy event than some of the other conservative conventions. Now, I don't think it's broad enough yet where they're going to see a performance by Bryson Gray. I don't think it's still Turning Point, but it's a bit less stuffy than the conservative. What's the one that happens in Florida that kicked out Fleckis last year? I remember that for not masking.
Dude, I don't want to say the wrong thing.
The Republican
But
RNC convention, right?
It wasn't
the RNC. CPAC.
Okay, well, because
Yeah,
so
I
here's
think so.
because I call this Gen Z pack, right? Like, these kids and stuff. But I think the thing that Fleckis was kicked out of, if I'm check me on this, was Student Action Summit, which is actually Orlando, which has this weird Democrat stronghold. Very weird stuff. I could be wrong, so I don't lambast TP USA. And look, bro, I don't want to put here, but it's like after you go to so many of these things, it all just becomes so predictable, and like it's a political hip hop concert where they have the lights and the pyro stuff, and you're throwing what's happening here again. I mean this in the nicest way possible. They bring all these people, throw red meat at the crowd about how they're going to do something, but they're not. They're like Byron. Again, I'm not trying to shade anybody. I know all of our millions don't mean, but it's like I just caught a couple minutes of Byron. It's either Byron Donalds or big black dude who looks like a football player, basically. And he's getting the crowd all riled up, and he's saying about investigating Hunter and investigating the DOJ, or not investigating the DOJ, but a guide to a court, and it's like, okay, it's not it happened. That's the war that we're in, bro. Like these don't you tell that they'll do whatever they can. It's not like there's going to be an investigation and some bombshell is going to come out and people are going to say, oh, bro, it's too late. We passed the Rubicon. Like there's nothing no bombshell that's going to come out that's going to wake up the establishment, and the establishment supporters are going to that ship sailed, unfortunately. So they're just getting people riled up, and it's fun, I guess, kind of.
Well, let me ask you this, and then you can go if you need to. Carrie Lake, they got some approval from a judge to inspect some ballots, I believe. Do you know if she's going to be there? And even if she's not, do you think that's a topic that Turning Point and its affiliates dare bring up?
I think she will be here. I think she's speaking either tonight or tomorrow. I'm sure. I'll be honest. Like I didn't pay attention to the schedule because I don't really care. We came here to some regular people who bought tickets to this thing and see what they think. But all that said, I think she is going to be here. Turning Point is realizing as time goes on that they have to broach, right? Like maybe in 2020 they might to the F word, but now as things continue to get deeper and deeper, I think at one point, again, correct me if I'm wrong, fact check me, wasn't really stand up, but as time goes by, you realize that okay, this voice, this platform, I do have to ideally do something, but as soon as I mean, we both know that certain words alone is enough to like want people to put you in jail. So, I mean, having something to stop this insane power grab. So, question is, I'm 99% sure she's going to be here, and I'm 95% sure that TPU. These are topics they are going to have to tackle.
I really enjoyed back to the
All right, Eric Butler, Report and Opine. Check him out on Instagram. He's going to be posting lots of stuff from there, I'm sure, with many of our close-knit friends. I don't know. Internet friends. I guess we're technically internet friends living in different countries, but I don't know. We'll do the best we can.
Yeah, speaking of, I did speak with all of your best. I mean, RIP to the old show that you had, but James Klug, of course, the homie. Savannah on?
Yeah, a couple
Hernandez?
times.
Yeah. Savannah. And I mean, basically, just a roll call of any of every. Oh, a good one that we got was Luke from the Tim Pool show. So that was good. That was a fun.
All right, have fun. Post a lot of stuff. Find yourself a Republican wife, maybe.
That's the plan, bro. All right, I'll see you soon, bro.
All right, see you later, man. I'm gonna rant about Elon now.
All right, do it. Peace.
Bye. All right, Eric, live from AM Fest. Sorry if there's any choppy audio. I think we could hear everything he's saying. It was just a little bit delayed. Same place he was at last year. Isn't that hilarious? I'm amped up. Thank you for everybody watching and continuing to watch. As we mentioned last week, charting in the Netherlands and France for some reason. So thank you to everybody who listens on Spotify. That's on Apple. Everybody's listening over in Europe, it appears. And of course, Twitter. Best podcast on Getter, of course. And our one guy who watches on Twitch. So shout out to that guy. I want to get into some Elon stuff because it's getting mental. It's getting absolutely mental to me. And non sequitur here, mental gymnastics that people are going through, jumping through hoops. They're getting on that box spring. Remember in third grade, they bust out the gymnastics equipment. Somebody would get really hurt all the time. You jump on that pummel horse and that box spring, and then you do a backflip through the ring of fire to defend everything Elon Musk says. And hey, listen, I like Elon as much as the next non-simp. Before he took it over, he started doing lots of great stuff. The Twitter files are, of course, great stuff. We're learning about the FBI's involvement in Twitter, about how they why they changed the rules to ban Trump, and all that's good. But at the same time, he's doing some really weird stuff. And in a second, I'm going to bring up this article that talks about his latest, thing that he's banning. Now, he started off last week banning the revealing of the real-time location of somebody because they were giving out data of his private plane, private plane tracker, which is under the First Amendment. You're allowed to publish flight tracking. I'd imagine it's so that planes, you can tell if they're on time, and also you can tell if a plane is actually getting there, if anything bad happens, and it's protected. And apparently this was abused, and somebody came and tried to find Elon where he was. They were trying to out where his family goes. However, if it's allowed under the First Amendment, I don't see why it's not allowed on Twitter. There's all this stuff, of course, you don't want to harm somebody's family. If something against the law is against the law, I agree with it being taken off. But other things that he's done, including selective banning, we'll cite Alex Jones, we'll cite some other people there, and things that he's banned because they are mean. He considers them to be mean words, mean images, nothing illegal. But basically, as a man, I can't sit here and tell you that I approve of a man saying, you can't speak on my platform because I find you to be mean. That's the long and short of it. Is it racist? Is it mean? Is it unkind? All those things are not crimes in America. And if they're allowed to be on, then I think that, people have the right to determine if they want to follow it or not, if they want to pay attention to it. You can have, who's the worst guy? Brian Stelter on CNN, one of the worst broadcasters of all time. What are you doing, hey guys? One of the worst broadcasters of all time. He should have a right to speak. He's not breaking any laws. You don't have to follow him. If you don't like, Mr. Jones or Mr. West and all these people who say things that a lot of people don't like, then don't follow them. Don't watch them. Don't follow them. But first, Elon went from, if something contains hate speech, then it's going to be basically demonetized unless you go right to it. Immediately deboosted. Okay, I guess, but now we've gone right back into hate speech. But then we got to the point where it's like things that are mean, things that are critical of people. And that's the whole basis for a bunch of the rules that Twitter used to have that nobody liked. So I'm going to bring up one of these new instances of what Elon's doing. And this is from CTV News up here in Canada. And this is a new thing. Twitter prohibits users from promoting accounts on Facebook and Mastodon. I have no idea what Mastodon is. Somebody tell me in the chat what Mastodon is, and I'll talk about it. However, Twitter on Sunday said it will remove accounts created solely for the purpose of promoting other social platforms and content that contains links or usernames. The move would impact content from social media platforms like Meta, Mark Zuckerberg all up in your brain, Facebook and Instagram, along with Mastodon, Truth, of course, Trump's thing, Tribal, don't know what that is, Noster, don't know, and Post. No mention of Getter. Oh, not on CTV News radar. While allowing cross-content posting. So you can post on multiple platforms with the same thing. Twitter support said in a tweet. Now, if we scroll past there. Bullshit. Former Twitter CEO Jack Dorsey recently invested in social media platform Noster. Still, jury's out on how to say that. Replied to the Twitter support post with one word, why? In reply to another user posting about the Noster promotion ban, Dorsey said, doesn't make sense. Short video platform TikTok, owned by China's ByteDance, was not included on the list. Isn't that interesting how it works? So I don't know how this works at all. It's easy for Jack to come back and be like, hey, I support this blog post he put out. Hey, I support free speech. It's the greatest thing in the world. If it was up to me, you'd only have an algorithm that shows it in your order, or else you'd be able to choose the algorithm. It was activist people, not me. And now he's against this stuff. He's putting $1 million a year towards Signal app. Easy to be on his side now. But Elon is just going out of control a little bit, and it's just like slightly better than Twitter now, and he's doing all this stuff at the same time. Like, obviously he's a very smart guy, but he's doing all this stuff at the same time where he's like, yeah, free speech, Twitter files, look what they did to Trump, look what they're doing, they're colluding with the government, that's censorship. And then also, by the way, I'm going to ban a bunch of stuff that I don't like. He refers to it as free advertising. He responded to Ian Miles Chong saying, that's exactly the point. You don't get to just have free advertising and not post your links towards other platforms that are competitors. And he's like, oh, exactly. But that's not free speech, dog. That's just not it. Somebody can't promote something else on your platform. That's literally not free speech. And I get it. Now we're back into this realm of it's a private entity. You can do what you want, of course. But this is not what Elon said. Sure, maybe this guy in his late 40s, 50s, whatever Elon is, could have changed his mind completely on this once he became the owner of Twitter. Now everything's different. He understands. But he's doing everything towards making money, which is fine, and not free speech. But that's what he said he was going to do. Free speech absolutist, he called himself. And now it is actually free speech, except when it's things that I don't like, things that are mean, and promoting other platforms. So that's the long and short of it here. So I just need the simping to stop, you guys. I need the simping to be something that is controlled. And there are a few people who are the biggest culprits of all. And I think they know who they are, and I think people know who they are as well. You can see them on your Instagram, you can see them on your Twitter, you can see them on a whole lot of places. And it's the real nerd types, I'm going to say. You could have predicted this to happen. But here's March 5th, 2022, Elon talking about Ukraine. Starlink is being told by some governments, not Ukraine, I'm not sure I believe that, because this is a lie within itself, to block Russian news sources. We will not do so unless at gunpoint. Sorry to be a free speech absolutist. So he is saying that he will not go against free speech unless there's a gun to his head, because he's a free speech absolutist. Was there a gun to his head for these other decisions about other people we don't need to name that might get us banned from other platforms. No, he was not. There was no gun to his head to ban those certain people. There's no gun to his head to say, you can't advertise other platforms, your handles on this platform. There's no gun to his head, though, and that means you're not a free speech absolutist. As you can see, I liked it. I liked the idea of a guy being a free speech absolutist, which kind of also means that you wouldn't allow, or you would allow anything on there that's also a crime. That's kind of what that means. But he's going back on all that. Here's another one. March 26th, so not long after, 3 weeks later, given that Twitter serves much of the de facto serves as the de facto public town square, failing to adhere to free speech principles fundamentally undermines democracy. What should be done? And he says, is a new platform needed? Or just buy this one? So, free speech principles. They're failing to adhere to free speech principles. Where is that now? Where is that time? And I think I'm just going to go ahead and retweet it. I'm going to retweet it now. Just for irony's sake. And in terms of the simping, which has to stop, by the way, here's something from yesterday that I thought was insane. Larry Elder, who seems like a generally nice guy, he says if Adolf, I don't know what YouTube's going to flag or not, Adolf and Mao, of course, which won't get you flagged, and Elon were walking down the street, and you gave an American lefty, meaning a left-winger, a gun with 2 bullets, he'd put them both in Elon. Hashtag Twitter files. Elon says, and miss both times. So that response doesn't even make sense. The hypothetical is they'd put both in Elon. So they're both in him. And then he says, and miss both times. Doesn't make sense. But the Sims are going to say he did on purpose. The Sims are going to say he knows what he's doing. I might say that. But what he says isn't exactly clear. It's not really funny unless you're assuming he knows exactly what he's saying. And it's like, they'd miss anyways. But the simping, and likely hit themselves in the foot somehow, then blame it on you. This is the best comment ever. GIF after GIF, blue check mark, laughing after blue check mark, laugh, 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 laugh. Elon as Neo, stopping the bullets. Mike Tyson laughing. Great leadership. This is awful. Dodging all these bullets. So this is the inherent problem here. That he can say and do everything, and let's give him the benefit of the doubt and say that he knew exactly what the comment meant, and in his mind it's a joke, saying even if they're in him, they're still going to miss. It's still not funny. And then people who I won't name again who are bald just sharing it and being like, this is so funny, this is fire, Elon, this is the funniest stuff ever. No matter what he says, people say it's the greatest thing he's ever said to date. But meanwhile, he's going out there, he's giving you all the Twitter files, which is amazing. But then on the other side, he's playing both sides, and he's banning CNN writers, and he's banning Taylor Lorenz and all these journalists that he probably would have said no, they shouldn't. He probably would have said back in March, no, they should still be on the platform. But he says they're breaking, terms of service now. So I guess we don't care. I guess we just don't care now that it's the shoe's on the other foot. Elon can do whatever he wants because he's revealing the corruption. And I guess if you're trusting the planners, that you have to say that there's something that's better that's going to come from this. But I don't think that Elon is part of the planning. I really don't. I think he's a guy who's in there to make money. And why do I think that? Because he's coming there, he plays both sides. Everything he's doing, from banning people to restricting advertising like that, is to make more money. Cutting a whole bunch of staff, probably frivolous amounts of people. It's all geared towards money, and that's fine. I have no problem with that. But don't come out here and be like, I'm a free speech absolutist, and it should follow the Constitution, and as long as it's not a crime, I'm not going to take anything down unless I'm not going to block Russian news sources unless there's a gun to my head. Why not? Why aren't you going to block Russian stuff? That's what I want to ask. What's the firm stance you're taking on not blocking Russian news sources, which many people would say are propagandist, versus blocking some people from being on your platform, whom other people also say are propagandists? There's no, well, they're breaking terms of service, because those are people who've already been banned, and you've unbanned a whole bunch of people. You see what I'm saying here? It's all about the business, and people don't want to believe that. People really want to believe that it's some sort of centrist guy who cares about free speech, and he cares about, representing the little guy, and everything's the same on both sides, and we just want to prosper and all live happily ever after, blah, blah, blah. But that person doesn't exist. And you and I both know the people who think that they're that person as well. I have a friend like that. Everybody's got a friend like that say, I listen to a lot of Joe Rogan. I listen to a lot of Tim Pool, and they're my guys because they're centrists and they see the stuff on both sides. And if I was in government, I would appeal to both sides. It doesn't exist. He's not this magical figure. And you could put all your eggs in one basket for any person that you want, and that person's eventually gonna disappoint you. If you agree with me on everything, I'm probably going to disappoint you in some other way. Maybe not simping for Elon is something I'm going to disappoint you on because you see him as a greater good, and that's fine. But he's just not this person who just is in love with you. He doesn't love you. He doesn't actually want to do this stuff that's entirely pro free speech. He just doesn't. He wants to make money, just like Tesla. He knows, and we know, that they aren't saving the environment. He's got these cool cars, but to charge them, you have to use a different power source to charge them. And the batteries are very toxic, and they come from mines in Africa, and China supplies a lot of them. And then they're very expensive to replace, and you can't go very far on a charge. And the batteries to charge them are very slow. And there's all these inefficiencies and all these damaging things to the environment. And they cost ultimately more energy than you think that you're saving because you're driving an electric vehicle. It comes down to it being cool. It comes down to selling it to you. And that's what my point is. Everything with Elon comes down to selling, and it's not actually free speech. And then you could point out these things from less than a year ago where he says these things that are now provable lies, or he's just vastly and wildly changed his position, and people are still going to do that. They're still going to kiss his ass, and they're still going to go ahead and say, Elon, you're the greatest person of all time. Thank you for owning the libs. But what I'm asking for people to do is to ask these people to stop simping. Stop simping for Elon. He's not a planner. You should not trust the plan with him, quote unquote, trademark registered. But just take the step back. If you're all in on Elon and he starts doing this stuff that's anti-free speech that you liked him for before, just take a step back. I won't be mad at you. People will thank you. That's all I'm asking. So to your friend who's laughing on everything Elon says, even though it vaguely doesn't make sense, even if we accept the premise that he knew what he was saying, it's still not funny. If you know a person like that, help save them, bring them back from the dead, and, tell them to stop simping, please. In the name of the Father, Elon, and Jack Dorsey's spirit.
Turn it up, Jordan.